All right, so this is the second video for the sort of creation and evolution, I guess, of our Pong game. Sorry, the last video cut out a little suddenly. I actually just kind of messed up the game, and the last like 15 minutes of that video was me trying to fix the game, which well, anyway, I had made a sort of stupid mistake. So anyhow, so I cut that so you didn't have to listen to me struggle for 15 minutes to find my mistake. So anyway, I was done anyway with what I wanted to do in that video. So in this video, we'll add some more features, namely sort of cleaning up the game over thing at the end here. Maybe adding an intro screen in order to say, welcome to the game and here's how it's played and things like that. A better way of sort of handling the transitions that we're going to do. And in terms of the gameplay, maybe I want to add the ability to do something like gather like a prize or something that maybe I'm trying to find or pick up or things like that. So anyway, so those are the things we might try in this video, and I think I'll have one more that I'll add after this with a few last features, just to sort of try to show you all the types of things that you can do. So, all right, let's do a quick check-in of where our game is. So I'll just play it a little bit here to double check that it's in the same state that we left it in. So we've got our background level 1, we've got our game. Bouncing just fine. I've got lives. I have 2 lives. And I lose a life. Let's double check that still works. I lose a life there. I just lost one. And I go to the next level when I get to 5 points. And I die when I lose both of my lives. Right. So so that's, I think, where we left off. What I was going to say is that one thing that's a little tacky here at the end is that the pieces are still on the screen. And so that might be a thing that I want to remove, right? I might want to say these probably shouldn't be there. And maybe I want, I don't know, something else to happen. Maybe at the end you'd want to add a feature that lets you start over, go back to the beginning. Well, whatever. There might be some various things you want to do in your game over situation. So let me show you how to make these pieces, right, go away at the end, so that way whatever I want to have happen, maybe it's just that stuff. So one thing I can do, every sprite has the option of, let me go to show you where it is, on the looks, which is appearance of the sprite. We've got costumes, we've talked about those already, but just a simpler thing that every sprite could do is either show itself or hide itself, and those mean what you think they do. If I do hide, here I'll just double click on it to show you. So right now I'm in the beach ball, right? If I click on hide, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to disappear. And if I hit show, it's going to reappear. So show and hide are actually a really nice way of adding some, I guess I would call them visual effects, but of, disguising things, and maybe you don't want something to appear until the second round, in which case you could hide it when you start the game, and then when you reach round 2, for example, you could show it. So this is a nice way of sort of introducing, one way at least, of introducing sprites only when you need them, or having them only on the screen when you need them. So anyway, it might seem to me like a good thing to do would be that at the end of the game, I might want to hide this and say these characters, the paddle and the ball here, should maybe hide when I reach the end of the game. So if you remember, how am I triggering end of game? I don't actually have anything in here. My gameplay is that if my number of lives reaches 0, I want to say game over, right? So I don't have anything here about that, and I don't have anything in the paddle about that. The only place I actually did anything with the game over business is here, which is in the background, which we said here, this was the last thing I think we did. If you reach 0 lives, switch to this black game over background and stop everything, right? And that is what happened, right? Everything is stopped right now. Nothing's moving or anything like that. But maybe I also want to hide these sprites. Well, it'd be nice if the background from here I could say something like, hide the ball and hide the paddle and things like that. I don't quite actually have that ability because each object can only show or hide itself. So when I reach the end of the game, this happens and I switch the background. Okay, that's fine. Um, but I can't say right here, oh, and also hide the ball and hide the paddle. These guys have to decide for themselves when they want to be shown or hidden. Right. So what I would need is a similar statement to this guy that would say, oh, when lives reaches 0 for the ball and for the paddle, hide them. Now, one thing we're going to sort of notice, and I'm going to say you don't need to do this, but a sort of more professional way and probably a way that's going to present you with fewer technical difficulties, is that we've got all these, right now we have basically 3 characters. We've got our ball, our paddle, and the background. And they're all doing their own thing, and they're interacting with each other sometimes, mostly via variables, right? So the background, which is where I am right now, is, listening and waiting to see when the score changes to know to go to the level 2 background. And then it's listening or checking, do you have 0 lives? If so, I'll switch to the game over screen. So they are sort of interacting with each other. And doing it with variables is one way of getting around this. But another option, which is actually quite quite useful, is to make a broadcast message. So what a broadcast message does is any of the sprites, including the background, can throw up a message. And basically it's sort of like as the name suggests, they're broadcasting sort of a notice. In other words, it's sort of a way of making an announcement. And the announcement it can make is just going to be, I don't mean physically, it's not actually going to make a trumpet sound and make an announcement, but it is going to send a message. It's like sort of like sending a text message to all of the sprites that, oh, okay, we've reached a certain moment. And each sprite could be listening for that message, and if each sprite is supposed to maybe do something, this is one nice way of saying, oh, they all hear the message at the same time. So, for example, at the game over, rather than me just checking here and switching the background, if I send a message that says the game is over, these guys, the ball and the paddle, can also hear that message and maybe hide themselves. So let me show you how to do this. So I'm going to leave this alone. I'm going to say, all right, when lives are 0, when you have no more lives, switch to the game over. I want to do that. But also broadcast a message. So let me show you. You can, if you hit the arrow here, message 1, that doesn't really mean anything. So let me do new message here. And this is just something you're going to make up, a name you're going to make up for the message. It's not actually going to say these words that you type in. This is just something we can refer to. So I'm going to say that the message what is the message? Is that the game is over. So I'm going to say that that's the name of this message. And what does this mean? Again, broadcast game over is like, again, some way of sort of sending a little message to each sprite. Hey, the trigger has happened that makes the game over. And when do I want to do that is maybe right here, because I'm saying if you reach no lives, if you die, you have no more lives, switch to the game over and send a message out saying game over. All right? Now what's going to happen? So this is in the background. I'm in the background sprite right now. These guys, my 2 characters, the ball and the paddle, these guys could listen for the message to know when should I disappear, right? Because remember, these guys are going to do, these guys are going to stay on the screen unless at the end of the game I tell them to hide themselves. So let me go to the ball first, maybe. So one thing I can do is if I grab this piece, right, the when I receive a message. So now I'm on the ball, right? I'm writing a script for the ball. And what can I do here? I can say, when the ball, that's me right now, receives the message game over, I can hide myself. In other words, disappear. It's just that simple. So when I receive the message that the game is over, disappear. Pretty simple. Now I will say, and this is actually what I ended up messing up the whole time, you might do yourself a favor that anytime you're having something hide, if I was to play the game again, it would still be hidden. So in general, just to avoid you having that sort of frustrating moment that I had at the end of the last video, if you're going to ever hide a character, you probably should pair that up with a show, and show meaning, show it on the screen. And in general, just ask yourself, well, when do I want the ball to reappear? Well, if I started the game again, so I could put it maybe here, or I could put it here, I guess, maybe I'll put it there. That's when I would want the ball to reappear, is if I click the start button again, right? If I click the flag. All right? Now I'm going to do the same thing over here on the paddle. So the paddle, I'm going to say, I guess I don't even have a when flag clicked. When flag clicked, I'm going to say show, in other words, appear. And I'm going to do the same guy here, right? When this receives the message that the game is over, hide. All right? So all I did is just basically added these two commands. Now I didn't need to detect the score, or I'm sorry, the number of lives, because I'm relying on the background to say when the lives reaches none, when you don't have any more, do your background switch and also send a message to everybody else, broadcast a message saying game over. And these guys are listening for that message, and so when they hear it, they're going to hide. So let's see if that does the trick. So I'm back to level 1. Oh, I don't want to win, so I'm going to try to die. So, okay, I'm down to 1 life. Now I'm down to 0 lives, and perfect, right? When the game over message happened, everybody hid, which is good, I think. I mean, it's not necessary, but you might need that, right? And in terms of levels and things like that, you might have the need to say, well, when you get to level whatever, maybe that's when something should show itself. Maybe it was hidden from the beginning. And we'll do an example of that as well. Okay, and I could clean some of this other stuff up, I guess, right? In fact, I could probably, well, not really. I think I've been pretty efficient. When scored, okay, yeah. So, I mean, I could do a little bit of saving myself. Here, this guy's checking, is the score bigger than 4? And so is the ball. So I could change this to a broadcast message, but okay, in this case, I've already done this, so I'm just going to leave these alone. Okay, so moral of the story is when you've got an event for which probably more than one thing needs to be changed, whatever that might mean, having one of the sprites broadcast a message that's detecting, is it time to do this, is it time to do this, is probably a better thing than having having all your sprites sort of double and triple checking. Is it time to go to level 2 yet? Just do it maybe with a broadcast message. And in general, since your game is going to have more than one level, probably each time you go to a new level, you probably want a broadcast message to say that, that you're on to the next level. So maybe I should be a good person and do that. Why don't I do that on the background again and say, when I get to score, when the score is more than 4, broadcast, oops, maybe I'll have a message called level 2, okay, and I'll put that here. If the score is more than 4, broadcast level 2, and switch background. I can switch the background to level 2, that's fine. And then send a message saying, hey, it's time for level 2. And if I go back to the ball, I now don't need to check this. I just need to ask. I can pull this out, actually. I still need this guy. That was my when do I lose points. But setting the speed to 20, I can now just do that. Rather than checking if the score is bigger than 4, I can just rely on this broadcast message that says, when you receive, notice that it's level 2 time, set the speed to 20. Okay, and I think that should work. Hopefully I don't mess this up. Let me check, make sure I get to level 2 before I die here. Okay, right, so I get the background change, the speed goes up, and I think, hopefully, I can still lose the game. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so that's one more thing. So broadcast messages, those are nice, those are useful. So what else? Well, I did a game over screen here at the end. And if you want to be creative, maybe I won't show you how to do this, but think about it. Allowing the user to replay the game at the end might be a nice feature to add. And, it would say something like, maybe put a button in here that would say, if, do you want to, or print a message, do you want to play again? And then, maybe a yes, no button or something. And if you hit the yes button, figure out how to make your game replay would be a nice feature to add. So I won't show you that, but think about it. But probably I'm missing one important thing, which is I didn't really give you like an intro to the game, right? So when we start the game, it just starts, right? It doesn't really say anything about, here's how to play or what's the objective. And you should have an intro screen that describes your game. And, maybe this game is pretty self-explanatory, but I should explain, maybe how do you go to the next level and stuff like that. So an intro screen is probably a good thing for us to try together here. So one thing is that maybe I should design it first. So I'll go to the backgrounds again. And remember how we do this is I've got different backgrounds. This is our level 1, our level 2, and our game over background. So I probably want one that is the welcome to this game sort of screen. So let me make one. I don't know, maybe I'll choose a preloaded one. You can, like I said, you can use a photo. You can upload your own photo to have it be, your room or something like that, or whatever you want to be, or somewhere, Statue of Liberty or some famous site if you want. I'll grab maybe I don't know, let's see, what kind of game is this? I want one that I can sort of write on in order to put the directions on the screen. So, I don't know, maybe this one looks kind of plainish. This one looks kind of fancy. Maybe I'll pick this one. This looks kind of nice. All right, so I'll grab this one, maybe this red guy. So if I double click on that, this is going to be my intro screen. Don't worry about these guys for a second. What do I want my intro screen to say? So I probably want, first maybe I'll rename it, intro. And I probably just want some text on here. And maybe you have more complicated things you're going to want here, but at its most basic, I probably want a text box that describes the game and what it's all about and all that good stuff. So let me grab, I probably want to put this print in white, so I'm going to click white here so that my typing will be in white so we can see it against the red. So I might say welcome. There we go. Okay, this is going very slowly for some reason. Maybe it doesn't like this picture. It's probably a little too fancy, maybe. Okay, I'm going to scrap this so that this doesn't crash. So I'm just going to delete this. And I'll pick a somewhat plainer background. So rather than a photo one, I guess I'll just paint a simple background here. So I tried to make something nice, but that didn't quite work out. So, all right, let me grab a similar thing, which is maybe just a red background. So I'll pour red into the whole thing. Okay, and hopefully now maybe this lets me do my printing a little more easily. So I'll grab white again for my ink color. Okay, that's better. All right, so welcome to Pong, which is the name of this game. So I might say that, and maybe I'll say another text box here. Maybe I could make that font bigger, I guess. But I'll keep going here and say the object of the game is to bounce the ball. So this doesn't text wrap, so you sort of have to manually do that. Is to bounce the ball off the paddle and score points. You 2 lives and the game is over when you miss the ball twice. Okay, or something like this. Whatever, right? Your game is going to be whatever your game is, but whatever you think is important to sort of tell the user as a sort of intro to your game, maybe you want to put on this screen here. You can move your text box around too if you want to sort of center things. Maybe I should say good luck. Maybe I would say, another thing you can describe here is how do you go to the next level, maybe. Maybe I'll add that to this text box here. If it's going to let me, or it won't. Maybe. Well, anyway, feel free to add stuff as you, whatever details you think are reasonable. Okay, so that's what it's going to appear to look like, and I can put little pictures and things in here too. I think you can do, clip art and stuff if you want to import an image or something. You can put it in the corners, whatever you want. Okay, so let me go back to the script for this background. Oh, and let me call this intro. So let me go back to the script. Now, so now you have to sort of reconsider, right? So the intro screen obviously should happen before the game starts, yeah? So I think rather than having that be how I start, when the flag is clicked, I want to go to the intro screen, right? And in particular, if I just sort of connect this now, I think maybe you can guess what's going to happen. It's going to do this awfully quickly. So in fact, if I try this now and I hit the flag, you didn't even see the intro screen, right? Because it went to the intro screen and then it immediately went to my level 1 screen, this yellow. Okay, so remember, an option that you have is to wait. And if I need to sort of hold on and say, wait a minute, I got to wait a certain amount of time, maybe I could do that. Or I could do some other sort of wait until. I could do a wait until you click the screen, for example. That would be a cute way to trigger go to the next. I could do that. Maybe I won't leave it this way, but I'll show you. I could say wait until. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to run that. Wait until, and then what do I want to sense? I could sense that you've pressed maybe a key, right? Maybe you pressed the space bar to start. I think screen is clicked is somewhere in here. But, well, anyway, since this is an easier one to drop in there, I will. So I could say, all right, I'm going to do the intro screen until the space bar is pressed and then switch to the game. Okay, so if I do that, if I click this to start, I get the intro screen, but unfortunately, I get the game actually playing. Now, if I hit the space bar, which I'm going to do now, I do get to the right screen. But that's a little quirky, right? Because the game shouldn't actually probably be playing until whatever trigger I'm going to use happens. So again, this is sort of, as your game gets more and more complicated, you're going to have the need to be able to say, well, everybody needs to do something when I'm ready to start the game. The background needs to switch. Okay, I've got that. But the sprites, for example, the ball and the paddle, they should probably not even be visible while I'm doing my intro screen. So again, there's a variety of things you could do here. You could do a broadcast message that would say, when you get the space bar pressed, you can start the game by broadcasting a message. I could do a certain number of seconds. That would sort of eliminate the need to do the broadcast. I could say, all right, everybody's going to wait 5 seconds, let's say, while the intro screen plays, and then start the game after 5 seconds. I could do that. So maybe, I don't know, it doesn't really matter which way we want to go. How about, we'll do the broadcast thing, just because I think it's good to have that experience. So let's do that. So let's say, all right, the background works okay, that I'm on the intro screen until you hit the space bar, but I need to tell everybody that it's time to go. It's time to start the game. So that's where a broadcast would be useful. So grab your broadcast, and it doesn't matter, I could do it here. I guess I could do it here or here. And I want to broadcast a message maybe saying it's time for level 1. Okay, so if I read this seems okay. When you start the game, go to the intro screen and wait for the user to hit spacebar. I should probably say that on the intro screen. I won't go back and fix it, but when I design my intro screen, I should probably at the bottom say, press the spacebar to start the game, right? Okay, send a broadcast message to everybody. It's time for level 1. Switch to the level and background, and then keep doing the usuals. So the advantage of the broadcast message is that now the ball can also modify how it starts, right? So the ball, I don't want to see the ball when it starts, when the game starts. So I'm going to do hide. Because right when I click the flag, that's the intro screen. Well, the ball shouldn't be there. And in particular, the ball shouldn't even be doing anything, right? So I don't think I want to do anything. I want to just hide for now when I start the game. Now, when do I actually want to show up and start doing my game? I want to do that when I get the message that it's time for level 1. Okay? So it's not a big change, right? When you start the game, hide this, hide the ball, and when it's time for level 1, show it, and and then do it, right? Do your usual steps. Okay? And similar for the paddle. I'm just going to do the same exact change here. So I'm going to say, instead of showing this when the flag is clicked, hide it when the flag is clicked. And when I receive the message that it's time for level 1, show it. All right? So let's test that and see how it goes. And I know that I probably know more about Scratch than you guys, so for the most part I'm not messing these things up. But don't worry that you're going to try stuff and it's going to crash and you're going to get all kinds of weird. But do periodic checking, right? It'd be pretty bad to do an hour or two of making your scripts and then be like, okay, now let me test it, because it's going to do all kinds of stuff that you probably don't want it to do. Instead, try these little incremental changes, and that way you at least have a sense of, okay, what did I change since the last time? And again, saving it is probably important, so I should be better about doing that. Okay, and let's try it. So I'm going to hit the flag. So this is good, right? So I got my intro screen. If I'm worried that these are here, I could do a similar thing of saying hide these guys, until I'm ready for the game to start. I'm not quite as worried about that, so I might just leave these alone. But I got my intro screen. This is nice. And I should probably have put in here, press the spacebar when you're ready to go. But this is good, right? The ball is hidden. The paddle is hidden. I'm on the right background. So if I hit space, hopefully the game will start. And it does. And here we go. Okay, so that's pretty good. Oh, I lost 2 lives. I think it just double hit. But all right, so intro screen, got it. Game over screen, got it. They look pretty good. Maybe again, I maybe add some features to the end of the game or something like that. But I'm pretty happy with the way it's looking right now. All right, so what else do I maybe want to do? So going back to more of the gameplay aspect of it, maybe I'm a little. So let me play it again here and hit space to start. Oops. Okay. I will say what just happened there. Sometimes you have to manually hit stop just to sort of make sure everything turns off. If you sort of have that you're not able to run it a second time, it might be due to that. But anyway, all right, so what else, I mean, in terms of playing the game, do I want to add? Well, think about it, right? There might be some other things you want to do besides just that. So as I'm playing the game, maybe a nice thing to do would be I should maybe be trying to bounce the ball to collect something. So in other words, maybe there's should be an object that appears, maybe on level 2 or maybe at the start of the game or whenever, that if the ball hits it, I get points or something like that. Would maybe be a nice feature, so collecting an object. And maybe even the ball should change costumes, perhaps, to maybe some other kind of a ball, or I don't know, right? Let your mind sort of go crazy here in terms of things you might want it to do. So let's try to add that. So I want to add, let me at least get my screen back to the beginning here. So this sort of keeps happening, that I'm having to hit this twice each time. So sometimes, okay, I think maybe I just need to be hitting stop between each one. Right, okay. So let me stop it here so I have a reasonable screen to work with. So let me introduce maybe some character or some item that I'm going to try to collect with the ball. So that should probably be a sprite, right? Anything that's going to sort of appear on the screen and have things that it's supposed to do should be a sprite. So let me make a new sprite. Again, maybe I'll make paint one or something, but I might just search from the categories from the catalog here and try to say, well, what might this ball sort of pick up that would be good? I don't know, maybe some bananas. So let me grab this, double click on that. Right, so bananas is now a sprite in my story here. So now you might say, all right, so let's say we get a point or something when we collect the banana. I have to detect this. I have to write all the code that's going to say, all right, how do I know when I've detected the banana? Where should the banana appear? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so one thing, let me, right, so go to the script. So how do I want to start the banana? Well, I always have to sort of try to decide what do I want to have happen when the game starts. Now, the banana, much like the other objects in my game, I probably don't want them, because remember, I've done an intro screen. When the game starts, when the flag is clicked, I don't think I want the banana to immediately be there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, just like I did for my other sprites. And when do I want it to appear? Perhaps I want it to appear when it receives the message that it's level 1, maybe. I mean, you could do level 2. Maybe the banana is only part of level 2. I don't know. It's up to you. I'll do level 1 just because it'll be easier to sign off to play the game so many times. But probably maybe level 2 sounds like a better place for it because it's sort of like a bonus feature. Anyway, but I'll pick level 1. So when I receive the message that level 1 is ready to go, one thing I want to do is show it. In other words, make it appear. But one more thing is that probably I don't want it to maybe always appear in the same place. Wouldn't it be kind of nice, and you guys have played video games before, maybe there should be some randomness in where it appears. So in other words, maybe not always in this upper right corner, but sort of randomly, maybe somewhere in this general area, but maybe on the left, maybe on the right, stuff like that. All right? So one thing I can do, and it's a requirement of the game that you have some randomness, is to use random numbers, or use a random number, I'll show you where those are, in order to determine where something appears or how something moves. So let's try that. So if you want an object to appear somewhere, I have to say where. Go to is the command that you're going to use in order to say go to this spot, whatever that spot might be. Right? So when I receive my level 1 message, make it appear in this spot. Well, I don't want to use these numbers because then it'll always appear there, right? So if I click on this, oh, I guess that's where it is where it is right now. I don't always want it to appear in that spot. So instead of these numbers, I'm going to use, so again, if you go to math here, you can pick this option, which says this will determine, or this will randomly generate a number between between whatever two numbers you put in this range. All right. So if I think about where do I want the banana to appear, maybe I don't want it to appear literally anywhere, but I maybe want it to sort of appear in this y value seems okay, since that's sort of at the top of the screen. But maybe it's the x value that I want to allow to be sort of anywhere. And as I move the mouse around, remember this is saying where's the mouse. So if I maybe want to say, and I don't want it to be under these guys, so maybe from about, I don't know, negative 120 or so, that's about the x value there, all the way over to maybe 200. So let's try that. So negative 120 to 200. Okay. So this will pick a random number somewhere in that range, and that's what I want to be the x-coordinate of the banana. The y-coordinate, I'm going to be happy with it being at 115, or maybe I want to move it up to the top just a little bit higher. So maybe I'll do something like 130. You can make that random too if you want, but this is probably good enough. And let's just test this, right? If I just click on this piece a couple times, it'll pick random spots, right? So there it picked some random number. There was a different one, there's a different one, there's a different one, right? And they're all in this range that we sort of outlined. All right, so that's a nice little, I mean, it didn't take more than a minute or two. And that's a nice feature that enables some randomness in your game. You could have it pick a new random location, maybe every 5 seconds. That would sort of move it around. That would be an extra challenge, wouldn't it? That you could throw this into a loop and say, go to a random spot, wait 5 seconds, go to another random spot. That would be kind of neat, right? So if I wanted to do something like that, I have to grab a loop. Anytime you want something to sort of continuously happen, it's got to be inside of some sort of loop. So maybe I want to give you a certain number of chances to get the banana. Maybe I want to give you 5 chances. So 5 times I'm going to pick a random number. But if I do that, it's going to go real fast. So I'm going to put a wait in here. And maybe I'll give you 3 seconds in each round to try to get this. So if I click on this just to test this portion, if I double click right here, let's see what happens. So I get 3 seconds. Oh, okay, I think it actually just picked a very close random number. Okay, well, I'm getting sort of unlucky that it keeps picking random numbers that are... But anyway, it's going to move it 5 times to 5 different locations, waiting 3 seconds each time. And maybe if you want to say, if you don't get it in those 3 seconds, hide it because you lost your chance, right? So if I did this 5 times, right, 3 seconds 5 times, let me do this one more time. So 3 seconds, another 3 seconds in that spot, 3 seconds in that spot, 3 seconds in that spot, and then the 5th time, 3 seconds goes by, and then it disappears. You say, well, if you didn't get the banana in those 15 seconds, you're SOL. So, all right, so that might be kind of neat. Now, if I want to say, what happens if I actually collect it, right? So the idea, of course, is that maybe when the ball collects the banana, let's think optimistically, right? That as this moving around, I do actually hit it with the ball. Well, then I want to probably do something like, say, you collect it, maybe you get a life would be kind of nice. That's sort of like an extra guy. That seems like a reasonable thing to do. And then I want it to probably disappear when I collect it. All right, so let's think about those things. So, right. So one thing I want to be checking for is, and you can write if you don't have to overdo it. This worked perfectly fine. So if you want to sort of do a separate thing, you can just grab another sort of starting point. So I could say when I receive level 1, do that stuff we just did. But also, when I receive level 1, because it's time for level 1, I might want to do some sort of um, detecting whether or not the ball is hitting it, or I've collected the object. All right? So for that, if you think about what do I want to check for, I want to sense. Now I'm in the banana script right now, so I'm going to check is the banana. So what does this mean? It means is wherever you are right now, banana, is that touching, and in this case I want to say, is it touching the ball? So this will be a true-false question that obviously when it's not touching the ball, the answer will be no. But when it is, I could say, okay, you get a life and it should maybe disappear, right? So now I do want to sort of be continuously checking for this. So when I receive, when this round starts, when round level 1 starts, I do need to keep checking. So I could say there's a variety of ways to do this. I could a forever loop is generally a good way of saying keep doing this, keep doing this, keep doing this. I could say I could probably do a wait until or a repeat until. There's probably a variety of ways. I think maybe a forever is reasonable. So when I start, keep checking, and if I grab that, right, if it touches the beach ball, I can say do some stuff. So what's a thing I want to do is maybe I want to give myself an extra life. I want to probably hide it because I've collected it. So here I'm going to do hide. So for sure, as soon as the ball is touching the bananas, I want to probably hide the banana, right? I'm in the banana script right now. So hide the banana. Maybe I want to give myself a life. So change the number of lives by 1. That was just lucky that it was already filled in. And the banana is done. So maybe another thing I should do is stop it. So stop is a nice thing to use when you know you're kind of done with something. So I could say stop this script. I don't want to stop the whole game, but I could say the banana is done if ever this happens. All right? So test this. I don't know for sure if this is going to work, but at least it seems like it might. So let's give this a try. As this may not work at all, but let's see. So I'm going to click the flag to start. Got my welcome screen. And there's the banana. Of course, I'm going to have to get lucky that I actually hit it. Okay, so I think I collected it. Yes, okay. Let me pause myself. So I collected it. It disappeared. And I did get an extra life. Remember, I start with 2 lives, and now I have 3, it says. So I think that worked out pretty well. It looks like I think it worked all right. The banana was sort of moving around. I guess I could maybe check one more time. Let me stop and start over and see what would happen maybe if I don't collect it, which maybe is going to be a little hard to make sure I don't get it. Probably going to mostly be luck. I think I might have gotten it. I did get it. Okay. Well, anyway, what would happen if I don't get it? Let me stop this. It'll run out of this like this part will run out, right? It won't be. So it will eventually hide, even if you never collect it. You could say something like, if you were worried about, well, you don't want the banana to appear on level 2, you could say, when I receive level 2, hide the banana. That way, in the event that you didn't collect it, it would still disappear when you get to level 2. Anyway, well, that worked out surprisingly well. I don't mean to sound like I'm surprised that it actually worked, but you never know. So let's see. I think those are mostly the things I wanted to add in this video. So the game is already, it's already looking better, I think. I've got an intro screen, which is basic, but not bad. I'm waiting. I'm doing the wait thing until I trigger the start of the game. That's a nice feature, that when I hit the space bar, I start. Aha. Okay, so, well, that was odd. So let me stop the game again. So again, sometimes, and I'll say this, if you have little quirky things, right? So I mean, what happened there? I started on level um, 2, right? For some reason, you might say, well, why the heck did I start on level 2? Um, well, maybe my score didn't reset. So you might just sort of do a quick double check. Did my score reset? I don't know. It should have been reset to 0 when I get level 1, but maybe that didn't happen fast enough. So there's going to be some weird, quirky timing issues. Honestly, usually just sort of stopping and restarting, I hope. See, right now my score is 5, which it shouldn't be, but that's where it ended the last game. And so um, right now, it hasn't done this yet because I didn't receive a level 1. So if this is still quirky, let's see. So if I start the game, okay, it is. So that's bad, right? So I should be concerned that those things didn't happen. And I went right to level 2. So I say, all right, fine. How do I debug this? Well, the issue is that when I click the flag, the ball wasn't doing anything because it says hide. But my score was, I think it was 5. So it never did this because why? Because remember the background, go back to the script for the background, is waiting to see, is the score more than 4? And if it is, it's going to say, okay, it's time for level 2. And that's what happened, right? Is that my score, like right now, for example, my score is 7. So even if I restart the game, my score is going to be 7, which means this is going to say it's time for level 2, and I go right into level 2. All right, so in order to try to think about how to fix that, I might say, well, this is what's being missed here. In fact, I think the number of lives was also kind of screwed up. So these things actually never happen. Aha. So that's a problem. So how do I fix that? Well, let me pull this apart for a minute. I did do a little bit of a variation in this game because we did our hide and show business in order to allow for the intro screen, and I may have sort of messed something up, which is to say that the action stuff, which is what I'm holding right now, that's the stuff I only want to do in level 1. That's true, right? I don't want things to be moving and all that business. But the setting things to their initial values, that I actually don't mind doing right at the very beginning, because that should help fix this problem I just had, which is that the score and the number of lives and all that stuff didn't get properly set to what it should be. So I know that doesn't seem like it was a huge difference, but it does a little bit matter where you put things, just because this isn't a perfect world, and the game doesn't execute necessarily in the order that you see it on the screen. I mean, it does, but some things can happen a little bit too quickly. So let's just try this. And these are the types of things that if you get stuck on them, I can probably give you some advice, although I'm not sure that this is going to work, but let's give it a whirl. Oops, so I hit this ring, and look at how much better it is already. When the flag is clicked to start the game, these values are actually now correct, right? I have 2 lives and I have a score of 0, so I bet when I hit the space bar, I'm going to be on level 1. I hope so. And I am, right? Good. Oh, I think I ate the banana right away because I have 3 lives, so we didn't even see the banana in there. And now I go to level 2, and so on and so on, right? And I can just double check. Do I still... Right. Okay, so quirky little things like that. I know it's going to be a little tough for you guys to debug yourself. So if you do run into those sorts of things where it's like, why isn't this doing... honestly, try moving some things around. Try checking to see, oh, maybe I should... And maybe try separating things. Sometimes if you have big, long pieces like this, even this makes me a little nervous that I'm doing a little too much all in one. And separate pieces can sort of be cleaner. It might help you better sort of see where things maybe aren't going right. Okay, so I'm going to do one more video with the Pong where I add maybe some other obstacles for you to try to avoid with the ball. Maybe things that are flying across the screen would be a good thing to do. So I'll show you how to do that in the next video. And then that's pretty much it. Then I've sort of probably shown you most of the tricks, at least. And so you should be pretty good to go off on your own and try your own game.